That's got to be my new favourite term from this off-season. Never heard it before, but loves a cuddle. I absolutely love it. For a tackle for those who like people like me who didn't know what it meant a few months ago.
Welcome back, everybody. It's a new AFL season, which means Game Day Squad Aussie Rule Show is here. Game Day Squad, create, coach, and compete. Get on it now. We have all of our links down below in the description. But here is your team for the year. I'm Tom. I've got Callum with me. Mate, how are you going today?
Mate, I'm super excited to be back. Footy starts on Thursday night. AFL is what we're all about, so I can't wait to talk a bit of footy and talk a bit about Game Day Squad. A lot's happened since last season, so I can't wait to get into all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And secondly, but not least, Kerm, how are you going, legend? What's going on today, mate?
So excited, mate. We had a little chat before the show, didn't we? And we are all so excited for the AFL season to start. Well, we're a couple of days away now, a few days away, so I'm so keen to get started.
Yeah, mate, you are absolutely right. And today we're going to be looking at a player's performance from a fantasy perspective and other fantasy breakdowns to help you get game day ready. As Callum mentioned, round one is coming up, so it's time now to set your lineups for round one. What decisions are you going to be making? But it comes to us, the reality of last season as well. Callum, unfortunately, you are still a Port Adelaide fan. Kerm, you're still a Suns fan, and I'm still a Swans fan who choked in the grand final. Welcome back to Earth, hey?
I was going to say, is that why you're not wearing your team's colours, Tom? You're a little bit embarrassed to have that red and white on your chest this year.
Yeah, I need to see a good round one performance, and I'll get those colours back on, mate. Yeah, absolutely. So to start off our show, we're going to be bringing something back from last season. It's called Pack of the Week. Kerm, why don't you take this away? Tell everyone that's watching what Pack of the Week is and how they can get involved.
Yep, so Pack of the Week is one of our favourite segments on the show because we get to bring you guys from the community into the show. And the way that you guys enter is through the Discord. So if you pack any pack that you open, just a screenshot into the Discord, you are automatically entered into the competition. And if you guys win, you guys will be shown off live on the show here. So get on Discord, display your packs. Every week there's a different criteria, so everybody has a chance to win throughout the season. So go get involved, guys.
Ooh, I can't wait for that. I loved it.
Yeah, speaking of packs, Callum, Kerm, have you been opening many recently? As we just said, the season's starting. I'm sure you're looking at a couple different upgrades. You've been getting around it, getting involved?
Too many packs. Yeah, we've been opening them. We've been opening them eternally. We love opening packs. It's one of the best features of our game. So you can't help yourself sometimes.
Absolutely.
I
What about
actually
you, Cal?
haven't been opening too many. I've been using the transfer market. So for those who haven't been on Game Day Squad since last year, our transfer market has launched. So instead of me opening packs and getting players who I'm not sure who they're going to be, I've been going after the market and targeting specific people. So at the moment, I'm on a hunt for a silver Rosie. So yeah, check out the transfer market for me, trying to snoop around for one at the moment. So
Yes, that's been one of the most exciting features we've been able to bring to everyone. But speaking of new and exciting features, Callum, do you want to get into some of the other ones we have this year? Because it's very different from last season.
yeah, so the transfer market's a big one, Tom. The other one is the Game Day Squad app. We're live here on our phones, whether you're Android, iPhone, or even if you just like playing on your desktop, a lot has changed. So that and the transfer market have been the two big things we've been working on all off season. We can't wait for the start of round one, and we just think our game's going to be quite awesome with those extra couple of additions this season. So if you haven't jumped on Game Day Squad, it is free to jump on, download, get your starting team straight away, and make sure you've got something to roll out for round one, because yeah, we can't wait. Fantasy reimagined, here we go.
Yeah, and open your 30 starter packs. And if you get any good pulls, you know what to do. Submit them in the Discord. Alrighty, in the first fantasy breakdown that we're going to get into this week is our question of the round. And I'm sure there are so many Game Day Squad coaches out there that have an abundance of questions they want answered. Are their players going to live up to the standard? Are they going to explode this year? So, Kerm, why don't you kick it off this week? What is your question of round one?
I'm excited for this one. And my question of the round is, the biggest news out of the Carlton Blues camp is Sammy Walsh and his injury coming into the season. So my question is who's going to step into that role? We've heard talks about Adam Chera, who had 102 GDS average last season. George Hewitt in the preseason laid 13 tackles, absolute cuddle machine. So I just really want to know who's going to step up in that Sammy Walsh sized fill hole, because it's going to be a massive, massive opportunity for someone like Adam Chera, who hasn't had all the opportunity to get the ball in his hands and go big in round 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll see when Sammy Walsh is back. Hopefully he's back soon. But if Adam Chera can step in, or if George Hewitt can step in, those are some great pod options.
That's got to be my new favourite term from this off-season. Never heard it before, but loves a cuddle. I absolutely love it. For a tackle, for those who like people like me who didn't know what it meant a few months ago. Another person that's going to have to stand up there is Paddy Cripps, which is a big ask for the current Brownlow medalist. So yeah, there's a lot of options in there. Can he go bigger? I don't know. It's going to leave a big hole. What do you reckon, Tom?
Dude, Sam Walsh is always just the talk of the town every preseason. But yeah, it's an interesting. I think Chera's really primed to step up into that role early on in the season and take some fantasy points and really run away with it. So we'll see how the season unfolds and once Walsh is back. But yeah, I'm really optimistic about the Blues this season. I can't lie. I'm super excited to watch them play.
Roll on Thursday night.
Couldn't come quick enough.
Could not come quick enough, eh? Took the words out of my mouth. A fantastic question. I think a lot of people are going to be thinking about that Blues dynamic, how that's going to unfold in round 1. But Callum, why don't you take it away? What's your question of the round? What are you thinking?
Guys, for me, it's as much of a question of the round. It's probably one for the whole season as well. But it's, does anyone emerge as the clear number 1 ruck in Game Day Squad after round 1? We know English and Marshall are the big boys and are the favourites, but we know it's been a tough year last year for ruckman. A lot of them went down with injuries, and it was just chaos there at one point. But we know Gawn and Grundy have paired up together. Darcy now has Jackson, so probably the big 3 that we were looking at last year all have people that are going to potentially take time out of them in the middle. So is it going to be someone like Witts again who surprises us? Are we going to see someone crazy like Scotty Lysett come back from injury and dominate? I don't know. It's going to be tough. It's the hardest position that I'm picking for this week, but that's my biggest question mark heading into round 1.
This round's going to be crazy because those 6 at the start that you mentioned, you got Tim English coming up against Gawn and Grundy, and you have Rowan Marshall coming up against Sean Darcy and Luke Jackson if Luke Jackson makes it to the round. So it's going to be an insane round 1 off the back of a crazy off-season that has just decimated the ruckman position. But you'd have to think, those sole ruckmans, Rowan Marshall, no matter how good Gawn and Grundy played in that preseason game, should come out on top, you would think.
And I know we're not going to announce teams for a little bit. We've got a live show on Thursday. Keep tuned. We'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. But my little bit of advice, if you're going to be playing in our classic competition or the old capped competition, potentially you roll the bronze out in your ruck position. You don't want to be spending money on your salary cap in a position there's a bit of uncertainty about. So at the moment, if you've got a silver or gold in there, I'd be thinking twice about that.
Cal's calls. I like that. You're going to start paying for those throughout the season.
Oh, he's given the early advice. You love to see it on the preseason show. Let's go.
What about you, Tom?
Yeah. Look, I'm really looking at that Fremantle Dockers dynamic. You just mentioned the ruckman, so I'm going to stick to one of them. It's Luke Jackson. Now, of course, this is pending he's going to be healthy for round 1. But if he's not, let's assume that this rolls into round 2, this question. And what it is that in Game Day Squad this year, Luke Jackson is no longer a ruckman, as we know. He's forward eligible position. So I guess my question of the round was, could we see Luke Jackson in Game Day Squad coaches lineups this season? Is he going to be able to live up to or fulfill a role with the Fremantle Dockers, which sees him score around that 90 to 100 fantasy points per game? I'm not too sure. If he spends a lot of time up forward and, he can bag 50 goals this year, maybe he could, but I really want to see how that dynamic unravels. And will he be a fantasy viable option? That's the question I want answered.
Well, this is the thing, right? And we all play NFL fantasy, American fantasy sports and stuff like that. And a term that's commonly used in those sports is stashing. So if you see Sean Darcy go down at any point in the season, and the same goes for Gawn and Grundy, if one of those go down, the other immediately becomes a must-start in all competitions. Whether it's Luke Jackson, Sean Darcy, one of those go down, the other's a must-start. Gawn, Grundy, one of those go down, the other's a must-start. So these roles that are going to fall out from all across the league and the whole season, there's going to be a lot of fallout at the position, and keeping those stashes in your squad, making sure you have one of those backups that we spoke about, is going to pay dividends as the season goes along, I think.
And Freo's big weakness this year is their forwards. So they've lost Lob, who was their highest goal scorer last year. So they've probably got about 40 or 50 goals that need to be kicked. And yeah, you do wonder if that's going to be Jackson up there or if he is actually going to spend a little bit more time in the middle. But one thing I will say, if you don't have your Dunkleys and your Tyrannos in your team, there's a bit of a drop-off after those couple of elite forwards. So it's not going to take a lot for Luke Jackson to be thereabouts. So yeah, I reckon we could see a couple of Luke Jackson appearances in Game Day Squad coaches this year, teams this year.
Oh, yes, that's what we want to hear. The spicy move from the off-season could pay dividends for many coaches this year. But I want to get into the next part because one of the best features about Game Day Squad, and which we haven't touched on yet, is that we're a dynasty platform. So the player cards that you own from year to year will continue to transfer from season to season. So we love hypotheticals, and what I'm going to give you is a buy, a sell, and a hold scenario between 3 different players. Those 3 players are James Rowbottom from the Sydney Swans, Ben Keys from the Adelaide Crows, and Hayden Young from the Fremantle Dockers. I want to get your thoughts on the buy, sell, hold value of these players and maybe take a little bit of a deep dive into why you're making these decisions. Because as we said, it's Dynasty. You could have these cards for the next 15 years if they play for that long. So get into it. Who's your buy? Who's your sell and hold?
This is the toughest one yet.
I'll go because I've got mine ready to go, Kerm. So I'll save you. I'll give you a little bit more time to think. I'm going to buy James Rowbottom.
Yeah.
You guys know that James Rowbottom is one of my favourite players in the entire league, and I'm super high on him. If you actually look at how he finished last year, the last 5 rounds, and including the final series, he was outstanding, averaging 100 plus GDS points and just a clearance machine. So he's still so young too, and we are a dynasty platform. He's the person that I'm going to be buying. I'm going to hold Benny Keys just because we know what we're getting with Benny Keys as a midfielder. He is in that midfield where he can do quite well, and I'm thinking that's a bit of a hold for this season. So we know what we're getting with him. I do like Hayden Young. It's not a dig on him, but like Kerm said, you've given us a tough 3. But there's still a lot of sort of potential, and will Hayden Young be this? Will he be that? So I'm going to put him as my sell. I don't feel great about it. I wish I could go buy here, but yeah, that's not the question you asked us, Tom.
Absolutely, you're right. You got to make those tough calls, and they're 3 great players, irrespective. So you can't really go wrong here. But Kerm, have you worked it out? I know I gave you a toughie. Buy, sell, hold.
Yeah, like Cal, I wish this was a buy. But I think we're going to go very, very different here. I'm actually going to buy Hayden Young. And that might be a little bit of a surprise, but I think at the position that he is, defender, we got 6 defenders in GDS to choose from, and we got 5 midfielders to choose from in GDS. So you want as many of those defenders as you can. And at the age that he is, and the talent that he's shown on the field, I think it's just a matter of when, not if, Hayden Young becomes a top 3 defender in the league at some point for fantasy.
Yes.
So I'm going to buy Hayden Young. I'm going to hold James Rowbottom. I've got a bit of a love affair with him as well. I think he's so fantastic. And Cal, I think last year even said himself, there's that bit of Petrarca Oliver dynamic that he's working out with Chad Warner, and Rowbottom has that Clayton Oliver type role, and the Sydney Swans right now. He had a very poor preseason game, but we can put that behind us, I think. It happens. James Rowbottom should be an absolute stud in fantasy for years to come. Which leaves me with Ben Keys to sell, which I honestly don't like, the ex-Brisbane midfielder. He had a great season a couple of years ago. He spent a lot of time forward in the preseason games, which is a little bit concerning for me. And as you said, Tom, at the start of the segment, we keep these player cards from season to season. So you might see Ben Keys, if he keeps up that forward status, as a forward in coming seasons. That's not a leak or anything, but just something to keep in mind. But yeah, I will be selling Ben Keys, I think. So for me, yeah, buy Hayden Young, hold James Rowbottom, sell Ben Keys.
All right, and somehow we've all gotten a different answer in this. So let me get into mine, and then let's talk about some of the decisions and maybe the things that are going to happen throughout the season. But I'm going to buy James Rowbottom. I'm very similar to Callum. Of course, I'm a Sydney Swans fan, so I do have a little bit of bias, Sydney bias. Hey, come on now. Let's hold on. Easy girl. But James Rowbottom, as Callum mentioned last year, it was really that tail end of the season where he really started to shine. It started to show what his role is going to look like in the near future for the Sydney Swans, because there's a bit of worry there of how stacked that midfield is, and that team is, mind you, with a lot of good young players. But Rowbottom could be the best of the bunch. I'm not saying that he is, but he could be. He's really up there. I'm going to hold on to Hayden Young. I truly believe what Kerm said is that Fremantle are another team that's extremely stacked. They're going to be go full guns ahead this season to try to win the premiership. So are we going to see him be a top 3 defender this year? Maybe not, but as his role, he gets some more midfield minutes, his role increases with the team, he can become one of those premier defenders in Game Day Squad Fantasy, which is the reason why I want to hold on to him. And Ben Keys. It's funny because I had him in my starting lineup for my Game Day Squad team last season. But this is the player I'm going to sell. And the reason was that forward rotation that we've been talking about is that it seems that he's spending more and more time up forward, which is only impacting and hurting his fantasy score per game. We saw that later last year where there were very few people who were starting Ben Keys by the end. And I'm looking at that trend. I don't like that. That's a stinky one for sure. So I need to get that one out of here. And yeah, that's my bias, hold and sell.
Well, if he becomes a Taranto or Dunkley for next year, that could be huge if he does get that forward status. And I just want to call out one thing. I've just checked my Game Day Squad team that will announce, I think on Thursday night in the live show, what our teams are looking like. The only player out of these 3 in my starting lineup is Hayden Young, and he's the one I'm selling. So, like we said about how difficult it was, yeah. So take that as you will.
No, it's nice we're all on the same page. We've come into 2023 hot. We're not on the same page at all. Coming off where we left off last year, so that's promising signs for the podcast.
Man, it makes for really good conversation, doesn't it? You have to love that. And I really just think it goes to show the quality of players that were selected for this segment is that they're so good that Callum's sell option is still going to get a starting gig in his team. So although we just, broke down these players, talked about the fantasy impacts that some of their roles are going to have, they're all elite premier options still, and you're going to want these players long term anyway. So let's not go too far. As we mentioned before, the season is starting this Thursday night, and what we like to do before the season starts is give you our predictions for some of the awards and honours that players are going to be getting throughout this season. And I need to address this. Callum made a really good preseason prediction last year of Paddy Cripps winning the Brownlow medal, and I haven't heard him stop yapping since. Yes, it was a good pick.
Jesus.
So on the topic of Brownlow medal winners, Callum, who is your prediction for this season?
Good pick, I don't think does it justice. Phenomenal pick. You guys laughed at me when I did it, but hey, who's laughing now? Guys, I am going to pick this year to win the Brownlow. I'm going to pick Petrarca. He's the man.
Alrighty.
He's the man I'm going with. I think he's due. He's been phenomenal. He looks awesome this preseason, and I think he's going to have 30 votes by round 15. So count him up.
Alrighty, Petrarca for Callum, but Kerm, who's your Brownlow prediction?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Brisbane's new recruit, Josh Dunkley. The way he looked in the preseason was unreal. I think he's going to get forward, kick some goals, get a ton of runs through the midfield. Josh Dunkley is my pick.
Very hot. Talk of the town in the preseason. My goodness. My Brownlow medal pick is going to go to none other than Andrew Brayshaw. He had a fantastic season last year. I'm really riding Fremantle Dockers this season. I think they can really win it all, and it's going to be because of that man right there, Andy Brayshaw.
I love that.
Alrighty, let's get into the next award. It's the Coleman Medal. For people who don't know, it's the player who kicks the most goals throughout the AFL regular season. Kerm, who is going to be your prediction for the highest goal scorer?
Maybe a little left field and underrated. I'm going to go Bailey Fritsch.
Yeah, okay. Callum, give us your prediction.
That's a bit. Wow, I do like that one from Kerm. I actually think it's going to be Harry Mackay again this year. I think he's young enough that he's only getting better and better. And I picked him last year. He didn't win it, but yeah, I'm going to double down. I'm going to go Harry Mackay again this year.
Hear the music. He's going back to back, according to Callum. But for me, I'm going to Sydney. I'm picking Isaac Heaney. I don't think he has a big midfield rotation this season, and they're really going to cement his spot in that forward line, which means plenty of goals to kick. He's my common medal prediction.
You've got those Swannies glasses on, mate. What are you doing? Isaac Heaney. That's a joke, right? You've got a real pick?
Your words at the end of this season, brother. Wait till he's up the top.
Hey, I hope he's in my GDS team for Thursday night. I hope he wins the Coleman, but yeah, okay. Go on.
Let's get into our next prediction. It's the Rising Star. We look at the rookies. As we said, we're a dynasty platform, so it's pretty important to be able to identify which ones are going to be the best. So I might take this away because I'm just going to go the most vanilla pick you can have. It's Will Ashcroft.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Kerm? Do you agree with that?
Fair.
No-brainer?
Will
Callum?
Ashcroft. Will Ashcroft.
It is a no-brainer, but can I give you something as a backup? Because I think Will Ashcroft's there, but I don't want to be too vanilla on the show. Sam Darcy.
Ooh.
He's second-year player, but he's going to be eligible for the Rising Star this year. He's looking good. He's looking very good. So, yeah, if something happens to Ashcroft, we hope he doesn't, of course. But, yeah, just keep an eye on him.
The next part, maybe, is it the most important? I'm not sure. Who's going to win the premiership this 2023 AFL season? Callum, we're going to start off with you, mate. What's your prediction?
Pretty obvious who I'm going to pick, guys.
Speaking of joking,
No, I'm kidding. Oh, no, I couldn't even do that with a straight face. Port won't make the finals this year, guys. It's going to be Melbourne. Melbourne is going to absolutely kill it this year. I can see Richmond 2019 vibes. So, yeah, lock it in.
Kerm, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, off the back of my Bailey Fritsch pick and backing off a Cal there, I think Melbourne Demons will take it out.
Excellent.
As well.
I can play devil's advocate. I'm not going the Demons. They're not winning it this year. It's Freo, the way to go. Up the Fremantle Dockers. I'm tripling down on this show. I said the Fremantle Dockers are going to be gun. They're not going to just be gun. They're going to win it all. But last, but certainly not least, the most important pick for the season. Who is going to finish this year as Game Day Squad's MVP? Kerm, take it away. What's your pick?
I've gone super vanilla. Rory Laird. Rory Laird's going to win the MVP at the end of the season.
Oh, and you know what? I'm just going to jump in because that is exactly my pick as well. Rory Laird is him. He's that guy. MVP season loading. Callum, what's your thoughts?
I thought that we'd have two of the same picks, but I didn't think it'd be Rory Laird. Mate, I'm on the Andy Brayshaw train. You could have quadrupled down on Freo. You could have put him for the Brownlow and for the Premiership and for the MVP. You've missed your chance. So Tom is a Andy Brayshaw hater, clearly. So I'm going to back him for Game Day Squad's MVP this season.
I'm happy to just be on the side here. I haven't caught Smokey yet this episode.
Comment section is going to be coming for me, bro. Andy Brayshaw hater. No, you can't do that to me.
Oh,
Not in.
bad,
we
bro.
haven't even started, mate. It's not even
bad.
round one yet, and I'm already being labelled as that. My goodness, it's going to be a toughie.
Lock that in.
Oh. Speaking of lock it in, why don't we go to a segment that we did last year, and it was probably one of the funner ones that we did. It's called Lock of the Round. And just to give you a general explanation of what we do here, so we pick a player every single week and we lock them in for a certain amount of Game Day Squad fantasy points. The catch is that once you pick a player once, you can never pick them again throughout the season. So it's very important to have a look at your matchups and know who you're going to pick and what rounds. The winner of last season, unfortunately, was Callum. So well done. We'll give you your flowers now. But this is a new season. Everyone's on zero. The playing field is now level. And for Lock of the Round this year, we had a gentleman's agreement. Right? As a playing group here, we thought we're not going to take too many safe picks. We want to make this interesting, you know? We want to spice it up. We want to have some really high scores, predictions, pick some different players, because that's the fun of it. That's what we're here for, to have fun, to be playing Game Day Squad fantasy. So let's go to the winner of last season. As I mentioned, it was Callum. Callum, this is a very important one. You want to put your best foot forward this week, especially seeing as you currently own the crown for Lock of the Round. So what's your pick this week? Who are we starting the year off with?
Full disclosure, I was only made aware of this gentleman's agreement halfway through recording this, and my first note is I'm going safe early, which goes against the gentleman's agreement. So I'm going to keep going against the gentleman's agreement. Guys, I'm going to pick Sam Doherty to have 105 points. I only had 3 games under that score. They only had 3 games the whole of last year under that. There's no Sammy Walsh in that team. He's going to eat early. Loves playing against Richmond. So 105, lock it in. I'm going to get on the board early. That's what counts. And hey, don't listen to those two, because clearly they didn't win last year. And this is the way to go about winning this year.
Doherty's going to get 105 before half time.
Mate, that's like saying Kevin Durant's going to score more than 10 points in an NBA game. Like, duh. As if you did 105. He was our MVP last year. Are we sleeping?
Let us know in the comments if that is going to fly, because I don't know if that deserves a green light. That might be a DQ.
Controversial to start it
A lot of
off.
yap from people without a crown.
Callum loves controversy. He has proven that time and time again. And what a way to start off the season for Lock of the Round. Kerm, why don't you go next? Seeing as you finished second. You had a great year last year. You actually, towards the end of the year, you were very close.
Yeah, very green at the end of the season, not a lot of reds. But I think I've been very, very, very good this episode. I don't think I've talked about the Suns too much so far this season. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to talk about the Suns, and it's going to be Noah Anderson to score 118 GDS fantasy points. Against the Swannies, Tuke Miller should be available, but he's had an interrupted preseason. I think Noah's going to be the guy who gets the ball the most, and that should equal opportunity to score points. So Noah Anderson, 118 GDS fantasy points in round one.
Okay, that's a good pick. Noah Anderson, you know my love for him from last year. Anyone who saw any of those episodes, shout out, you are a real one. But it's a new season, as we mentioned, and I'm going to get into my Lock of the Round pick, and I've been a little bit cheeky. I went back and looked at some of the history for Lock of the Round from last year, because I was very interested and intrigued of what we did. And I've actually copied someone's pick from round one last season, and that is none other than our winner from last year, Callum. I'm locking in Patrick Cripps for 125 Game Day Squad fantasy points, which was the exact amount that was predicted last year, and got that beautiful green light. So I'm hoping it goes back-to-back green lights. It's Thursday night, under the lights at the MCG. The scene has been set for Patrick Cripps to come in and dominate, and it sounds like he's going to feast. So lock that one in.
No Sammy Walsh as well, that we spoke about earlier in the episodes. That is a good pick.
Mark your calendars down in 12 months' time when Tom copies my pick from this year because I've won again, and then rewind back about 2 minutes when he was giving me crap for it.
Stop the cap.
Ladies and gents, that is going to wrap us up. This has been the Game Day Squad Aussie Rules Show with your crew, Tom, Kerm, and Callum. We are so pumped for the start of the AFL season, which is on Thursday. And as Callum mentioned before, we're going to be doing a live stream before kickoff for the first game. And we are going to be doing a team announcement. So if you want to see the players that we're going to be starting for round one, which I'm just going to put it out there, my team's going to be the best in round one, so you might want to copy it. You're going to want to check in and tune into that live stream. We're going to have a special guest on as well, which we will announce very shortly. Get down to all of our socials down below. We have the links to all of that. Follow us, get in the Discord, show us your best packs for, again, a chance to win some more free ones. Who doesn't like free packs? But that's your crew. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel because we're going to be putting out content every single week for you to help you all get game day ready. Get excited.